Thanks for tuning in to Money Talk for this video on the UK property market in 2021. Now, the last time I talked about the UK property market was in mid-2020 when things were still very new, the situation was new, and we had things like furlough in place and we had a stamp duty holiday given to us from the UK government. Now, it's interesting to see that the furlough scheme has been extended, and since that video where I was talking about prices coming off and there being an inability to buy property, residential property, it's actually there have been some nuances in the market which makes you unaware of kind of what might be going on. So if we look at the last quarter of 2020, in the news, we did see that there was a lot of hotting up of the market. What I mean by that is that we saw house prices increasing. For example, what you can see here is an increase of 7% versus a year ago. Now, a lot of the driver of that has been the stamp duty holiday, which has given rise to people being able to move and potentially with such a great saving of up to £15,000 if you're buying a house for £500,000, then that's a really big saving versus before this exemption. But what I'm going to tell you is quite the opposite in terms of some of the data on volumes. Sales were lower, however, in 2020, and they've actually dropped to a low not seen in quite a few years. So here's the graph showing the volume of sales in the UK. This is the raw data. And as you can see, they've dropped considerably to be in its last data point in September, being over 70,000 homes that month. Now, that's in a contrast to 1 year previously, where around 88,000 homes were sold. And if you look at the peak of over 100,000 homes sold in around July 2019, this dipped to 63,000 homes in the same period, July 2020. So that's actually a 37% drop in sales that have gone through. And that's according to the land registry in the UK. So that's the official source. Under current circumstances, where you have the furlough scheme, for example, so anyone that has currently been put in a furlough right now, they're going to actually struggle to be able to get a mortgage to move on. And therefore, you could see that a large proportion of the market has not put their house on sale because they would in fact struggle to then move on to the next property. So I think that there is a supply lag there, and therefore you've just got a certain profile of buyer going ahead, and there's been an uptick of prices versus a year ago. In fact, it's quite steep, and where there was a trend coming off over the last couple of years in terms of year-on-year growth, this actually, as you can see from the graph, has accelerated. Another thing that's worth mentioning is that the government introduced laws for landlords where the eviction or notice serving was extended. So therefore, if you were going to serve notice to a tenant to say, I'd like my property back, and even if there was legally entitled to give a month's notice or 2 months notice, I think it was, as standard, the government increased that to 6 months. And so therefore, from any period in the middle of last year or late last year onwards, any landlord that wanted to serve notice would now have to wait 6 months before they could then get possession of their property. So that might also stall the part of that market where I said landlords might start selling if they don't see that the ability of tenants to pay them is quite there. So that's something to watch potentially later on. And I think with an extension of the furlough, we didn't see such a dramatic effect of house prices falling. And as this furlough scheme is set to potentially end in March 2021, along with the capital gains holiday ending on the 31st of March 2021, there could be a lot of downward pressure on the market. Now, speaking of the stamp duty holiday, there's been a petition on the UK government website, and it's now got over 100,000 signatures, which means it's will be put up for debate. So actually, if you are interested and you want that stamp holiday and you want to petition to support an extension, then check it out. Just Google extend stamp holiday and look for the official government website petition. All you do is add your email address in there. But now it's got to that stage where that will be potentially debated in Parliament. They initially did say that they didn't have the appetite or the intention to extend it, and it was a temporary relief. So we will see what happens with respect to that in the coming weeks. I think the biggest factor that's going to really show up in terms of, say, a ripped off plaster is going to be the furlough scheme ending at the end of March. And if that does occur, then you are going to get some potential household struggling to be able to, say, pay mortgages or etc., and to move forward, maybe even not being able to move. And so there could, although you would expect that supply of houses to go up, you as a homeowner, if you can just about kind of tick it over in your current home, and also getting a new mortgage would be troublesome, then you would probably stay put. However, there may be some forced selling out there, and the current predictions of house price drops next year are around the 6% mark that I've seen in some research or media reports. So the UK average house price as at the end of 2020 was 250k, and interestingly, if it falls about 6%, that will take you to the peak of 2019's house prices of around 234k. So that 6% there might be where those figures come from in terms of the expected drop in house prices. Of course, it's not all doom and gloom, and if it is a 6% drop, it's a relatively recent benchmark from the summer of 2019, and if that is the case, you're not losing years and years of equity built up in your house. So of course, property is one of those investments, whether it's your own residential home or not. It's one of those long-term assets that rises over time, and of course with limited land to build on, and especially in the UK being a limited supply of homes, that kind of situation does tend to rise over time. Thanks for watching this video. If you want to look at any of the historical videos that I did that pertain to this, just check them out at the end. And don't forget to like and subscribe this video and share it with anyone else that you think's interested in the property market in 2021.